Welcome back to the United Pubcast. Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United in the race for Champions League football. And Larry, look, we always do these match previews, and it seems pretty much every game since the World Cup, in regards to the Premier League football, pretty much every game we've sat here and said, okay, it does a win this weekend guarantee top four? And we always say, yeah, no, pretty much does. If we win this one, we'll be in the top four and we might drop points, and they always open the door back up. Here we are, months down the track, we're going to have the same discussion. There's a win against Tottenham this week, Friday morning Sydney time, Thursday night in the UK. There's a win against Spurs, guarantee top four. There is a poll in the live chat if you are with us. Have your vote, but talk to me about your feelings, Larry.
It's pretty much bang on time. There's no guarantees in football. We know that. And United basically need to secure, I'd say, about 11 points. They've played 30 games. They've got 8 left. And just looking at the position of the league table, if we beat Tottenham, I believe that gives us is an 11-point gap.
So, I'll bring the ladder up as we speak, because it is interesting. One, in regards to obviously a huge game this week, or in a couple of hours, between Arsenal and Manchester City, but obviously us in the top four race with Tottenham. So I'll bring the table up here.
Yeah, so Tottenham are on 53, United are on 59. So if we beat them, we go 9 points clear. So with the 9 points clear, United, so let's remember, United have 2 games in hand over Tottenham. So United have played 30 games, Tottenham played 32. So United would be 9 points clear, and Tottenham would only have 7 games left to play.
Is it Tottenham we're looking at? In regards to, you look at the teams around, the Aston Villa ahead of them, you do have Liverpool and obviously Brighton. They even have a game in hand on us.
Up suddenly, didn't they?
Yeah.
Gerrard got sacked, and Unai Emery's really had them just humming away quietly. They've just snuck in there in the last minute, haven't they? Done really well, Aston Villa.
Looking at that image there where you got Arsenal at the top there, Brentford down the bottom, sitting in 10th, not at the bottom, but in 10th at the bottom of the image. Tell you what pleases me about that graph there, that table.
Tell me.
Can you find Chelsea anywhere in there? I have to scroll to find Chelsea.
Man.
I don't have to scroll far. They're in 11th. But it goes to show you do look at Aston Villa. They've crept up now. Obviously, they've played 3 more games than Manchester United. Will sort of heavily extend that gap, you think, to double figures. But I'm just looking there in regards to, I think the betting man would have us and Newcastle in 3rd and 4th. You can flip a coin on sort of where the chips fall in regards to the 2 clubs there. But in regards to if one was to fall out of the top 4 in either us or Newcastle, who would you think is likely, or would be the most likely to sort of scrape that 4th? I think you can probably go as far down as Brighton in regards to places on the ladder. But if one was to absolutely shit the bed and lose all sort of control in the last couple of games, who do you think is most likely to sort of mount a challenge for top 4?
I don't think. Look, I've got to be honest. I can't see Newcastle or Manchester United shit in the bed. I think the top 4 stays those teams. I guess the order is the only thing in question. I can't see any team getting in. It would take something catastrophic, to be honest. I think after this game, United really only have Chelsea to play in terms of what you'd call a top side. And look at the table; they're not a top side. So United have a pretty straightforward run in. I've got to be honest. I think we're due to face Villa again, aren't we? So that game will come up.
I know we have Brighton coming up again. We've got Brighton, Chelsea, Villa. I'm not sure. I know we did lose away at Villa Park. I'm not sure if we played them at Old Trafford.
I don't think we versed them at home.
If anyone is in the live chat, do let us know the latest on there. But we'll say good day to some people in the live chat. George, good to see you as always. And SJ, good to see you. Spurs with the new manager bounce, and Brighton away would be our toughest fixtures. I can see Brighton doing a Newcastle and avenging the cup result.
Yeah, look, Brighton another manager.
Well, I want to touch on Spurs before we get into our starting 11 and everything. Just in regards to Spurs, yes. So they've sacked Antonio Conte. They appointed his number 2. Apologies about the name, Stellini. I'm not sure. Correct me in the chat who the interim manager was. I think he was Antonio Conte's number 2. So why did they really sack Conte if they just got to have the same guy giving the same message? He's come in an absolute disaster as well. The form continued, and obviously that disaster up at St James's Park, they got absolutely smashed. They've now sacked the interim manager, and now Ryan Mason is in as their next interim manager until the end of the season. So just on Tottenham there, can you see there, does this count as a new manager bounce, having Ryan Mason in there?
No. He won't do anything. With all due respect, Tom, how many times, I find it hilarious. I find how many times do clubs appoint a new manager before they verse Manchester United? That'd be a
Look,
stat.
every club says that, but yes, my God, I say it every week with Manchester. It seems every week that does happen, and it is one of those things. But what do you make of Tottenham? Because we'll get into the Harry Kane discussion in a little bit in terms of what this game
Aston
means for
Villa
him
did it, Sevilla have done it, and now Tottenham are doing it. That's three just off the top of my head this season.
this season. And who knows, there might be one more. When we play Chelsea, if Lampard's still in a position, obviously Pochettino looks like he's going to be announced Chelsea manager any time. But I don't know if that Lampard's going to keep the job till the end of the season. I assume so. But it does definitely have that feel as a Man United fan. But just in regards to Tottenham, what do you make of them in regards to, we'll have the Harry Kane discussion in a little bit, but just looking at that league table, I don't know how they're up there in regards to that league table. They lose every single week. I turn the TV on, Tottenham are 2-0 down, Tottenham are 3-0 down, Tottenham have thrown away a lead. But they're in there. Now, yes, I don't think they're going to make top four. I think that they have started to sort of fade away. But not like Chelsea. Chelsea were in the bottom half of the table. My God, I had to scroll to find them. But Tottenham were right on our tails. And I'm just thinking, what have you made of Tottenham's season in regards to, it's been so chaotic, it's been so disastrous, we've had such a good season, and yet we're talking about this as a real pivotal game in regards to top four chase.
Well, it's pivotal because Manchester United, look, at the end of the day, we still have a significant gap with, again, 2 games in hand, right? So I think context does need to be applied there. If United were on the same amount of games, I dare say we're probably 9 points clear on average anyway. So, I think it's important to put it in perspective. In terms of Tottenham, I mean, I got to be honest, I didn't have them making the top 4. I'm pretty amazed they made the top 4 last season. And they only made the top 4 because the likes of Manchester United, who were expected to be in a title challenge, just simply didn't pull up any stumps last season. So I think they were the beneficiaries of those underperforming around them. And that's shown this season. And again, 22-23 has shown Liverpool have fallen off, Chelsea have fallen off, Arsenal have risen to prominence. And then we've seen other underdog sides, the likes of Newcastle, Brighton, Aston Villa. So it's been an interesting season overall. And I've got to say, I think the quality of football we've seen this season trumps last season because we're seeing these, well, quote unquote, lesser sides start to push into the top half, which has been really positive. So with that being said, I think Tottenham have been punching above their weight for a little while. I'd even argue that since they lost the Champions League final against Liverpool, what was that, 4 seasons ago? They've just been on a downward spiral since. I haven't liked their transfer business. They signed the likes of Basuma. They signed the wing back. He was in the Championship last season.
Dej Spence.
That didn't happen the way we would have expected it to. He went out alone again, didn't he?
You've forgotten the main one, Larry, which I can understand why you've forgotten about it because it's made absolutely no noise.
Richarlison. Yeah, he's been out of favour. He's not playing football. And I got to be honest, like outside of Harry Kane and Son, who I got to say the latter, he's been quite poor this season by his high standards. Outside of that, you look at that team on paper, particularly in the midfield, there's not a lot of grit in there. There's a few fine footballers. I think Højbjerg is all right. Skip, do you rate him? Sarr, do you rate him? Perisic is their left back. Like, they're a disaster. Yeah. Their recruitment is strange. Eric Dyer is still, he's got Phil Jones syndrome. Just one of those players that is not good enough, but he's
getting a lot worse. As I said, I enjoy watching Tottenham because they provide me with such comedic value at times, especially last game out against Newcastle. But I've watched a fair bit of Eric Dyer. And I remember when he came back to England, I think he was in Portugal. I think he was at Sporting Lisbon before he came back to Tottenham years ago. I think Louis van Gaal was in charge, I think, at the time. He came back and you think, okay, this is a sort of maybe a product. It'll be an England international. We'll see. He'll get that move to a bit, not that Tottenham aren't a big club, but he'll get a move to a bigger club at some stage. But I've watched Eric Dyer over the years and sort of listened to Tottenham fans, and he is on a downward spiral. He's getting worse. He's like, we talk about Harry Maguire and sort of being a little bit of a magnet to mistakes and sort of attracting sort of chaos. Eric Dyer, watch this guy play. Now watch him pull out a bloody Nemanja Vidic performance this weekend. Fingers crossed not, but he's a nightmare for Tottenham Hotspur. But the other end of the pitch, when maybe Harry Maguire comes into this discussion, Larry, but Harry Kane, obviously on the thumbnail tonight, and obviously he's going to dominate the discussion this game, next week, and obviously throughout the whole summer transfer window. That is the way it will fall. we were just discussing off air just the opinion today, and again, our opinions will change every single day. You're of the opinion at the moment Harry Kane doesn't happen to Manchester United. I'm very confident that it will happen. Whether I agree that it should happen or shouldn't, I probably do think it should, but I'm very confident it will happen. Simply just weighing up the options. I think he will leave Tottenham. I think he has to leave Tottenham. I think Tottenham have to cash in. I think all roads lead to Harry Kane leaving Tottenham. If that is the case, you then have to weigh up the potential clubs who could get him. And really, I think United are the only ones who sort of realistically are in that sort of bracket at the moment in regards to situation, cost, and everything, and the players' ambition, etc. So I do think it happens. You're of the opinion it might not. Just your latest around Harry Kane.
I'm split. I think it'll come down to how stubborn is Daniel Levy willing to be. And the thing is, if you're Tottenham, I hate to look at it from this lens, but we have to, right? If you're Tottenham and you sell Harry Kane, what level of replacement do you get in? That's the thing. They need to be honest with themselves, and we need to be honest with ourselves too. In terms of sure thing strikers, I think there's a lot of potentially good strikers that can be bought, but outside of Harry Kane and Osimhen, there's not really many strikers that are on the open market that you would say guarantee you 20 plus goals.
Even Osimhen for me, and look, he might come in and do an Erling Haaland. Even for me, he's not a guarantee of goals.
He's got Lukaku syndrome. Like, I'm sorry, I swear, this isn't a racial thing. Very similar players. Good instinct in the air, good in behind player, physical. I think he's technically a bit better than Lukaku. I'll be a bit respectful. But in general, similar thing. First touch is heavy, not the most technical player. He's playing in a league. He's getting himself in good positions, good anticipation. If you look at the way United play and the way Ten Hag likes to play, Osimhen doesn't really fit what United want to do. Now, does he go to Tottenham? If they sell Harry Kane, potentially. But could you see a player like him wanting to go to a Tottenham? Yeah. So then you have to say, well, if you're Tottenham, does Harry Kane with you give you a better chance of securing European football for one more year, even if you let him go on a free, versus the risk of letting him go and then you're finishing 10th or 11th like Chelsea have? So
you've made these points in regards to, which are all valid and all correct in regards to Tottenham and Harry Kane, but just put Harry Kane's shoes on just for a second and just look from his point of view. He makes the decision. He wants to leave Tottenham. He wants to go and he wants to go win a trophy. He wants to go break the Premier League goal. He's obviously not going to Bayern Munich. Harry Kane definitely wants that, and Bayern Munich have ruled themselves out. But Harry Kane obviously wants that Premier League goal scoring record, and who can blame him for that? But he obviously wants that Premier League trophy, or any trophy, probably take the League Cup, for God's sake, at the moment. And let's say he makes the decision, he wants to leave Tottenham, he's going to leave. Okay, we've ruled out PSG, we've ruled out Bayern Munich, we've ruled out Real Madrid, we've ruled out any clubs in Serie A. Is he going to Manchester City with Erling Haaland? No, that ship has sailed. Manchester City tried the other year. That didn't happen. They're obviously not going with Erling Haaland now. Is he going to Arsenal? Okay, I know he's an Arsenal fan growing up. That's not really happening. I don't think Arsenal are going
to... Not from Tottenham.
I don't think that deal happens for a multitude of reasons. Chelsea, I guess you could always definitely throw in there in regards to what Todd Bowley is doing. I'm not naive enough to say that's not a possibility. Obviously, Tottenham and Chelsea, they do hate each other, but look, the managers come and go from those two positions every single week, it seems. And ultimately, you run through all those clubs. Newcastle, you can obviously you can see a scenario where that happens. I don't believe they're at that stage yet, but you could see that happening. I've thrown all those teams out there, and there is only one club in world football who can give Harry Kane what he wants in regards to Premier League football, the number 9 shirt, or whatever, 10, 11, whatever he wants to wear, the number 9 position in them at Old Trafford, and the chance to win trophies in England. And I just think, you weigh all that up. If he leaves Tottenham, I don't see a club that he doesn't go to that's not Manchester United.
I agree with you. I definitely do agree with you. But I think it just comes down to, again, how stubborn is Daniel Levy going to be? Because we've seen that prick can dig his heels in. And that's the mate. It's like trying to deal with your wife when she's decided she's having a temper tantrum. Like, at the end of the day, if Daniel Levy wants to be the stubborn wife, that's it. Like, he closes the door and he's keeping it locked, and you can bang and scream and say, let me, I'm sick of the sofa, and he'll just keep the door locked. And if he decides to dig his heels in, then it simply won't happen. I like what's coming out of United at the moment in terms of that they're not willing to be brought into a drawn-out saga. If Tottenham are going to do business, they want to know now. And I think that that's the right way
But
to go.
that's where it comes to me in regards to, for me, I want Harry Kane. If someone doesn't want Harry Kane, they want to go in a different direction, that's valid, and I sort of respect that opinion. But in regards to Harry Kane pursuit, for me, now obviously he's not going to be holding up a shirt next week, but the deal behind the scenes has to be at least somewhat done this week. You're in London, you're in and around Daniel Levy. I'm sure the dignitaries from each club are sort of going to be having lunches and dinners with each other over the next couple of nights. Sit down with Daniel Levy and say, look, we want Harry Kane. Harry Kane is given us the indication that he would be happy to move at some stage. Are you at any price willing to sell Harry Kane? If the answer is no, you're not going to hear from us now. If you want the 100 million, you're going to have to tell us, yes, you're willing to accept some type of value now. Okay, and because we cannot be in a situation where we're waiting until after pre-season, or we're waiting until we're 3 games into the season in August and we're trying to get Harry Kane for £120 million. We'll miss 3 or 4 games of the season and we're lacking in goals. I'm just saying the decision has to be made now between Manchester United and Tottenham. Is it a possibility? Now, I know it's going to drag out because it's obviously a huge transfer, but the decision has to be made now between the two clubs. Is there a price where Harry Kane will leave Tottenham? If there is, let's start talking. If Daniel Levy says, no, it's going to be nothing under 150 million, that's when Manchester United make the Harry Kane decision today to walk away.
Yeah, agree. And that's the thing. If Daniel Levy sets a price now, let's say that's another dilemma, isn't it? How much do you pay for Harry Kane? In my opinion, like, this isn't £100 million signing. It should not be.
It shouldn't be, but for me, I would. And I know it's too much. It is too much. I understand it. It's wrong. For me, I think where we are at the moment, what we need, and just the story situation
need a lot
around
of surgery, though, Tom. That's the problem. I think getting a central midfielder is equally as important for United as getting a number 9. I think it's just you're looking at Eriksen and Casemiro. Just look at them the last few weeks. They're on their last legs, and with all due respect to those in behind them, they just don't have the quality to. They don't keep United performing to the same level. I think getting a central midfielder is equally as important. How much money do United have to spend?
Yeah, look, that's a discussion in regards to Glazers or Qatar.
But
the word you mentioned there, sorry to interrupt, but the word you mentioned in regards to midfield, you mentioned legs. Okay, bring in legs. Bring in a Scott McTominay, bring in a Fred, bring in a sort of £10 million player, give them legs. We simply have no legs up front because Martial's injured and Weghorst might not be the club. We simply need a body up front, and that's where I do think.
We do, but I think what I'm saying with the midfield, though, I think they need to get someone in who maintains the quality, because the problem that we're seeing at the moment is when Bruno doesn't play, as we saw against Sevilla, it just falls off. And Casemiro, as much as I like him, he's struggling at the moment. And you have to, if you're Eric Ten Hag, you have to have question marks. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to put it down to age. I think that's lazy. But I put it down to he's played a lot of football. Yeah. Rashford looked equally as tired to me as Casemiro did. So I'm not going to say Casemiro's, it's because he's 30. But at the end of the day, United absolutely need another deep-lying midfielder. Because if Casemiro is not available or suspended, which based on his track record this season, you need someone of that caliber. So if Harry Kane's 100 million, do United have 200 million to spend next summer? And if they have 200 million, are you going to blow it all on 2 players? It's a really big gamble. So let me ask you this question. If United could go for a young striker, would you almost be willing to do that? Because that's still bringing in another body, and that young player could potentially still push Martial, or do you go for the sure thing that is Harry Kane?
My personal opinion is Harry Kane. And again, but if someone disagrees and wants to go down that other route, I'm definitely not saying they're wrong.
What if you got Højbjerg, for example?
He is the name there. Look, I haven't seen him play. He obviously does look at talent. I've seen him on YouTube. He does look at talent. I don't know what he's like. And he's the player you'll be bringing in. I look a big fan of, from what I've seen so far, of Evan Ferguson from Brighton. Obviously just signed a new long-term contract, so he's going to be extremely hard to get out of Brighton. So Højlund's probably in that discussion, but you'd like to bring them in with another striker, not to have to rely on Manchester United challenging for titles and Champions League football in a position where we're pinning our hopes on, okay, young 19-year-old striker, come in and score 35 goals to take us to the title. I don't think that's fair. I think you put that pressure on Harry Kane. You don't put that pressure on Højlund.
Well, if Martial's sticking around and it's between Højbjerg and Martial, I think you could do it.
You could.
Pressure, but
I think Martial and the word could is one of those things. Martial could stay fit.
Also, the elephant in the room, again, I hate to bring it up. Mason Greenwood.
It's definitely there. Look,
there? Forget everything else, but if you're talking purely about strikers and ability, if he's at the club, massive if, granted, Is Mason Greenwood a Manchester United player next season? Because if you need a couple goals, I mean, Mason knows how to score goals, but I doubt he'll be a United player. But again, this is going to matter. This is going to be a topic of conversation in a month or so.
Well, before we get now starting 11, just the last point on this, or it kind of ties in with Mason Greenwood and Harry Kane, but obviously SJ makes the correct point here. How do we go about buying players before the sale of the club is finalised? Which is our huge issue. 100%, we're drawing up all these scenarios and fantasy sort of 11s and sign-ins. Their deals can't be done. Simply, we don't know who's going to be signing the checks. So, look,
I think deals can be done. If you're the Glazers, you have your status quo. You have to plan as if they're still in charge, and I imagine that's what's happening. So that they'll be planning based on the worst case scenario, but they'll also be planning on the best case scenario. An organized club would. So you have to say, if Qatar come in and Qatar are worth this much, how does that impact us in terms of financial fair play? And if they're now worth this much and they can bring this much money in, I guarantee you that the day Qatar signs, within 7 days, United will sign a major sponsor that's going to magically pour hundreds of millions in. So in terms of financial fair play, we'll be sorted. So all of a sudden, United can spend 400 million. And if that's the case, maybe you do get the midfielder and the striker and the right back. Or I think centre back is equally a priority for Manchester United now because, once we've seen, now I think Lindelof has eased some concern, but Luke Shaw can't be our backup centre half. There has to be better quality to come in, and I think Harry Maguire goes. And we might talk about Nemanja Vidic's comments. The spine of the team wins competitions. I couldn't agree more. You can get away with a bad winger. You can get away with an okay fullback. You can't get away with a weak spine. Without a spine, you can't walk. So United need to make sure that they're strong in those areas.
Well, speaking about the United team, I'll bring a starting 11 up, and usually we bring up a starting 11 each, Larry, and sort of we discuss the differences. But we'll discuss them before this. Our starting 11s are identical in regards to what we would go with. So I'll bring our starting 11 up in the comments. Do let us know your thoughts on what you would do with a starting 11. So just my thoughts here, and I think we'll discuss sort of one or two sort of absentee as why we do think that Bruno Fernandes has pretty much been ruled out. Obviously, this is recorded a few hours before Erik ten Hag's press conference. He might give us some clarity, or should I say confirmation, on Bruno Fernandes' injury. I'm sure we all saw the photo of him on Instagram in a boot on his couch, sort of resting up. So let's go under the assumption Bruno Fernandes isn't available. Fingers crossed he's fit shortly. But we're looking at left back. Okay, Luke Shaw comes back into centre back over Harry Maguire, keeps his spot over Harry Maguire. Delot over Malacia. I think we're both opted to drop Christian Eriksen, sort of one or two sort of subdued performances, and provide. I think Fred's best game this season from memory was against Tottenham at Old Trafford. I think he scored a goal. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the front three kind of picks itself when everyone is fit at the moment. So just your thoughts on that front, or not the front three, I think the middle three, the front three, and obviously the back four. I think the big omission is well, the first one, Delot keeping his spot at left back over Malacia if Shaw's not on the left-hand side. Then obviously Harry Maguire only missed the game, you would think, against Brighton at Wembley due to suspension. Now that suspension is over now and he's fit and available for this selection against Tottenham. We're both gone Shaw and Lindelof. Is that one? I obviously know that is preference, but also in prediction, where do you sit on that back two?
I think our prediction is spot on. I think, if we've lost faith in Harry Maguire, you think Ten Hag has shown all season he's lost faith in Harry Maguire. He really has. He hasn't blinked twice. He played him in the opening 2 games of the season, saw he was shit, and said, all right, I'm not playing you, sorry. And every time he's come in, he does all right. But for all the criticism that gets, by the way, poor criticism of David De Gea, I've got to say, I think it's been over the top online.
You think?
I think United need a... Well, yeah, absolutely. I know you're being sarcastic, but I think with David De Gea, look, I'm very much in the camp of I think we should upgrade him. But in saying that, I think United can still win a league with him there. I don't think he's immediate. I promise you, if you think David De Gea impacts the way United play coming out from the back, Harry Maguire he's the real problem. When he plays, United have to play deeper because he's not comfortable. He simply can't play on the halfway line. And when it's him and Lindelof in particular, but neither of them are rapid, you know? So you got Maguire as the tucking in defender, which is hilarious because he can't do it. And then David De Gea playing it's Maguire. I think Maguire actually makes De Gea look worse. In fact, Maguire makes everyone look worse. Look at Victor Lindelof's performance on the weekend, Tom. Looked unbelievable. Harry Maguire wasn't next to him. Look at Rafael Varane last season next to Harry Maguire. He looked finished. Harry, with all due respect, and again, I hate going in on Harry Maguire. When anyone plays next to him, they look worse.
It's what we've alluded to in regards to attracting things or being a magnet. It's again, and a lot of it is through no wrongdoing. You look at the own goal against Sevilla; he's in a perfect position as a defender.
Mate. I don't accept that. It is his wrongdoing. He's not paying attention. He doesn't scan. And
hang on. No. I'll back him to the hill here. A guy hit a header off target, hit his head, and went into the opposite corner. That has nothing, Larry. I'm sorry. That has. I don't care what house that has nothing to do with scanning. Some guy hit a shot off target and it hit him in the head.
I don't know what happened. That's just off my own observation. He doesn't scan. Harry Maguire doesn't scan. He does not scan.
How does someone having a shot going off target, ricochet off someone's head, have anything to do with
Why
scanning?
didn't he jump for the ball? Why didn't he jump for the ball?
Why the cross went nowhere near him. The cross went nowhere near him. Went to another man.
I disagree with that. Sorry, mate. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think Harry Maguire, the thing is, when it happens with the same player time and time again, at some point you got to say it's not a magnet. This guy's just not very good at it.
In those instances, of course, but I'm saying that specific goal, a deflection, a shot going to the corner, if I hit him on the head, has nothing to do with scanning, has nothing to do with positioning. That was simply.
Let's assume you're right. Okay. I disagree, but let's assume you're right. Let's say that's the only mistake he's made this season. I would almost accept it. I've seen Rafael Varane make mistakes this season. That's fine. I can live with it. It doesn't mean he's not world class because it's a one-off. That happens. I've seen Rio Ferdinand and Man Utd. The list goes on and on. Do you remember Rio Ferdinand against Gareth Bale? I think it was in the I think it was the season we won the title.
Yeah, the last season, or Tottenham beat us at Old Trafford 3-2.
Ferdinand couldn't have looked older. Destroyed against Gareth Bale, but he recovered because he is a world-class player. Harry Maguire doesn't recover. In fact, he doubles down, goes to Seville the next game, and I'm sorry, the goal he conceded, people blaming De Gea, I don't accept it. It's all Harry Maguire. Again, that is another example of not scanning, not knowing what's around you.
100% there. That goal, couldn't agree with you more. That goal, not the one at Old Trafford. I'll die on the hill on that one.
That's fine.
The goal in Sevilla, completely agree. The goal in Sevilla, completely agree.
Fine. Honestly, it's probably my fault. I've run out of patience with the guy because he's just been is a calamity. People laugh at Phil Jones. I mean, at least Phil Jones gives 110%, puts his head where people wouldn't put their feet. Sure, he looks like a clown most of the time, but he's injury ravaged because at least he put his body on the line. Harry Maguire doesn't put his body on the line. He does the bare minimum. He doesn't act like a leader. He wears the armband. To be honest, I think he embarrasses himself every time he goes out in a United shirt. And Erik ten Hag should do him a favor. And unless there is a catastrophic injury toll in terms of the back line, he shouldn't play for United again. Just for his own benefit. Because I don't see... If Harry Maguire plays, he's just going to make another mistake and you're going to destroy his confidence even more.
Well, enough about the guy who we both haven't selected in our starting 11. So we'll go back to the starting 11. And George with a shout here in regards to... Interesting. Probably wouldn't disagree. I could see this. Maybe Sancho starts over Anthony Martial and Rashford through the middle, just in regards to a bit of squad rotation and sort of managing minutes. Can you see a situation where, because I thought Sancho was good when he came on against Brighton. So any situation there where Martial is still managed?
No, not for me. I think Tottenham will sit deep against United. I really do. When you concede 6, that team always... What's the number one message if you're Ryan Mason today? Clean sheet. Don't concede goals. They're going to park deep.
I think it'll be don't concede in the first 5 minutes. I don't think it'll be about clean sheet over 90 minutes. don't be 2-0 down in 10.
But the message will be don't concede early. You're right. And if that's the case, they're going to sit deep. And Rashford's strength isn't back to goal. So in fact, if there's an injury doubt over Martial, we simply need to rotate him. I wouldn't be surprised if Wout Weghorst starts. And I thought
Weghorst did quite well. I said, I think that second half against Brighton, I think a lot of the United players did do well. But the last one, before we sort of move on and start to wrap up, just that midfield 3, we've both dropped Christian Eriksen. Fred comes in. Fred,
what's going on with him?
Sounds like he's It sounds like he's still going to be out 1 or 2 more games. He was at Wembley, not part of the squad or anything, but he did travel down to support from the stands. But looks like he's out for 1 or 2 more games. But I thought when Fred came out against Brighton, Again, not a game changer, but did well. And just in regards to maybe one or two limitations Christian Eriksen has, I think in regards to rotation and fresh legs and everything. And as I said, I think from memory, Fred's best performance this season, off the top of my head, was against Tottenham at Old Trafford. I think he did grab a goal. I think Fred was probably, you'd say, deserving of a start if Bruno Fernandes is out.
I'm just conscious of how Tottenham might play, and I think considering that I expect them to sit deep, I probably would go Eriksen. I know we agreed on this team, and I think Ten Hag will pick Fred, so that's why I've agreed to it. But I personally would probably go Eriksen because I think Tottenham will sit deep, and if that's the case, you need a game breaker. I think Sabitzer, when he plays in that advanced role, I think he plays more like a second striker. He doesn't play as deep as Bruno does. For example, like when that team sheet comes out, and I know Bruno's been played a little bit deeper in more recent times, but this season, he's sat as an actual number 10, or at times come deeper. I think Sabitzer, not as a second striker per se, not in the tradition, not like Wayne Rooney did, but you get what I'm saying. He's quite further up, and he does good things there, but he's not what I'd call not the game-breaking pass. That's not what he's there to do. I think he's there to have good link-up play and good 1-2s. And so if Fred and Casemiro play in the midfield with Sabitzer, who's the game breaker? Who's the person who's going to put the ball through the lines? That's my worry. If Eriksen's not there and Bruno's not there, how do we break Tottenham down? That's my worry.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that's where maybe it says shout for maybe Jadon Sancho to play off the left and again, Martial obviously does link the play well, but in regards to letting Anthony cut inside, I think the goal I have in mind in regards to how do you break a team like that down who's sitting deep, it just in my vision, if you can't get in behind, look at the goal against Nottingham Forest where Anthony cuts in off the left, and so it's that third man run or a deep run from the left back who's through the middle like Diogo Dalot. And I think that is where you do need your wide players to be quite creative against these low blocks. But it will be interesting in regards to how we do line up. But in regards to score prediction or your confidence going into this match, Larry, as said, look, we're off the back of qualifying for an FA Cup final. We're in up and down form, but I think that overall feeling is somewhat good form in regards to feeling confident going out onto the pitch. Tottenham have just been absolutely smacked by Newcastle 6-1. New manager bounce, however you want to read into that. It has all the makings of Tottenham bouncing back and sort of getting a 1-0 win. That's sort of what Tottenham do and how Tottenham have managed to stay where they are in the ladder. Where do you sit on this? Because Manchester United should show up and should wipe the floor with Tottenham, how they have performed this season. Football doesn't work like that. So my gut feeling tells me it's going to be a disappointing day for Manchester United. Now, I thought that against Brighton. They proved me wrong and got the job done. So fingers crossed I'm wrong again. My gut has me a little bit worried ahead of kickoff, but just your confidence levels. I
fear a draw.
Yeah, I can see 0-0. I can see 0-0.
I could see 0-0 as well, or a 1-1. I am a bit worried about it. Just let's also not forget United's away form isn't good this season, and I can't pinpoint why that is. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't think Ten Hag can pinpoint it either. Maybe the crowd just get us up. I'm not sure what it is, but United have struggled away from home this season.
You've got a good record at the new Tottenham Stadium. I know behind closed doors, I know Cavani scored a goal there, which we won. I know Ronaldo scored a good goal. I think we won 3-0.
We won 3-0 last season.
3-0 last year. I think they might be our only two games. Maybe we had one before lockdown. I forget when Tottenham moved into the new stadium.
Well, the new stadium happened in the COVID times.
Yeah, so I don't think we have lost the Tottenham.
COVID happened 3 years ago. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I've lost track of all those things. But we'll be interested. I think we both go into this match full of confidence, but just knowing how football in Manchester United does work, these are the games that are often banana skins. But moving on.
Let me ask you this, though. Just on the final point on the game. If you're Harry Kane, you want to score a goal, right? You want to make a statement to Ten Hag, I think. I think he'll be motivated.
I think with Harry Kane, and this will be used as a criticism when he moves. Let's say he moves to Manchester United. Obviously, the criticism will be tenfold on Harry Kane. I think you have to throw him very much. When there's talk about these team trophies, the Premier League and Champions or FA Cup, he's not really spoken about in this mould, but he's very much Cristiano Ronaldo-like, in my opinion, in regards to Cristiano Ronaldo wants all the individual awards. I think, Harry Kane does want a Premier League, does want an FA Cup. I think what he truly wants is Alan Shearer's Premier League goal scoring record. So you give Harry Kane a chance to sort of score a couple of goals against the team he's going to be playing for. I think Harry Kane takes, and rightly so. That's his goals count for the team as well.
Being harsh on him. I think you're being harsh on him.
No. That's a praise. I think that's a brilliant sort of ambition to have. And if he's scoring enough goals to get that record, he's obviously helping his team. Like Ronaldo scoring individual goals, they also count for the team. I'm not critical of that mindset.
I mean, but I think there is absolutely. I think even with Ronaldo, I think the fundamental desire was to win trophies. You know what I mean? Like, I think Ronaldo's all for the individual glory, but he doesn't want the individual glory and coming sixth, as we saw last season, I think. And very much in the same mold of Harry Kane. I don't buy into this. A lot of criticism of Harry Kane has been, does he have the ambition to play for a top club? Well, yeah, he does. He pushed very hard to go to Manchester City. It just didn't happen for him.
He was on a golf course asking for a transfer on Sky Sports.
Basically. So, it was with Gary Neville, wasn't it? I remember that. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see. I hope. I'd love it if United signed him. I really would. To be honest, it's just one of those players. I feel like he belongs in a Manchester United shirt. I've thought
it's got the feeling to me. I can just see, and again, this is the fans speaking, or if you want to sort of use the sort of correlation at the little boy speaking inside, it just has that Robin van Persie feel, in my opinion. A bit of the Arsenal link, obviously. Let's say Arsenal win a title, and the Tottenham's player comes in and takes the title off Arsenal. I can just see Van Persie vibes, in my opinion. But a question here from SJ, good one, Larry, to sort of start to wrap up. And if there is any other topics or questions, if you're on the live chat, want us to talk about, throw them in the chat and we'll get to them. But one here from SJ in regards to, it's gone under the radar, this one, in regards to Alejandro Garnacho. What do you guys make of the reports that Garnacho is choosing to play in the Under-20s World Cup over the end of the season, United, including the FA Cup final? One, you can throw this injury in the discussion, Larry. Obviously, he's not back fit yet, so he's going to be going, maybe not 100% fitness and playing away. What that mean for pre-season and next season? But ultimately, he's throwing away the chance to, one, win, but also just help his teammates in an FA Cup final. Let's say he is fit and available by then to play for Argentina. Now, I say Argentina, the under-20s. So it's not the first team, obviously. It is the under-20s. So, again, if you're ever in a position to represent your country, or not in that position, so I don't know what's gone through Alejandro Garnacho's mind. For Manchester United fans, though, this is the wrong decision. But Alejandro Garnacho is his own individual, and not to be critical of the decision, but it's not a great one, in my opinion.
I'll be critical of the decision. It's woeful. And if I'm being honest, I think someone in Manchester should have pulled his head in.
I don't want to go in him because he's a young player and he's done very well. And I do see a bright future. Okay, I don't see Ballon d'Ors, but I see a bright future for Manchester United with him. But it's a bad decision, in my opinion. And maybe the injury is clouding my judgment a little bit in regards to that as well, in terms of he's not fit yet. So as soon as he gets back to fitness, he's going to leave. And that kind of annoys me a little bit in regards to the discussions we've had about Marcus Rashford. Should he be? And we'll talk about Marcus Rashford in the senior team and major tournaments. And now we're talking about a player in a youth tournament. And I think if we're critical of Marcus Rashford at senior level in terms of those decisions, I think Alejandro Garnacho is up for that criticism as well, because...
Didn't Rashford reject playing for England under-20s? I can't remember if it was the World Cup.
I don't know what he did the 20s, but I remember he postponed surgery or something to go play for England in a tournament.
I remember that, but at the start of his career, he had an option. I remember it. He had an option to go play for England under-20s or under-21s maybe, and he didn't do it because he wanted to play for Manchester United. And I've got to be honest, I think Garnacho, because he's missed so much football, particularly in a crucial part of the season, I almost feel like he owes it to United to be available for the FA Cup final. Yeah, I get it. You're a young player. Maybe you... And I also understand that South American culture is different. And that's an important factor. Playing for their country is massive. It's a culture... Like, when you speak to any Brazilians, the way they speak about the national team is the way we speak about Manchester United. It's just different. So, I understand there is a cultural influence there, but at the end of the day, Manchester United pays wages. Manchester United have given him the platform to even be considered to play for Argentina. I think it's poor. I think it's ill-advised. I really do. And it's under the 20s. If it's for Argentina national team, you can get behind it a little bit. It's the under 20s, mate. You got an opportunity to win an FA Cup final. Like, come on.
Fingers crossed Lisandro Martinez has a word to him, or can get near him at training, give him a bit of kick so he can wake up to his senses. But one of my fears with the Garnacho one, which is maybe clouding my judgment in regards to this, is, well, one, he still hasn't signed that contract in regards to tying his future down. But also I do see a situation, and again, this is not to be critical of him, a lot of young players from South America grow up to sort of dreaming of playing for Real Madrid. I know Kevin Atletico Madrid, but playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona. I see a situation in 2 or 3 years' time where if Madrid come call and he's on the first plane Monday morning, I just think I don't know how committed he is to Manchester United. And again, not to say he should be, like in regards to he can make his own decisions on what he wants in his career. But I see a situation where this being the first, okay, he snubs Man United to go play for Argentina. Then he's had a good season. We want to tie him down, and suddenly, oh, no, I want to go replace Mbappe at Real Madrid, sort of thing. I'm just thinking, I just don't know. Is this the first step in many disappointments on what could be a great Garnacho career? It also could be a sort of what if.
I agree with you, mate. I don't. He won't play his career at United. If his career takes the natural trajectory that, I got to be honest. I mean, I think, and I understand the excitement of young players coming up. I don't see world-class potential there. I just don't. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong.
The player I have seen last... Look, I've been watching for about a year, but you don't really want to talk about one because it almost feels like it should be illegal to talk about someone that young, but Shea Lacey. My God.
Player.
Look, who knows how his career will develop? Who knows how he would...
with Mason, but similar vibes.
Yeah. But I don't know, one, as a player, how he develops as a player, how he develops as a person. Does he want to be a footballer in 2 or 3 years' time? Like, who knows what trajectory his life will take. But I think is he 15? He's 16. I think he's still 15, 16 now. And I think he's played 1 or 2 in the reserves as well. So he's playing guys 10 years older than him.
My word.
He scored a goal on the weekend for the 18s. Look, the obvious comparison, you're right in regards to Mason Green with the left foot and Manchester United, but in terms of the body style and the positions he takes up on the pitch, and Manchester, you obviously think Phil Foden. But this kid, if anyone hasn't watched him, go YouTube Shea Lacey, Manchester United youth player. He is, look, we've talked about Angel Gomez being special, Mason Greenwood being very special, Marcus Rashford maybe not looking that great, but sort of developing into sort of a brilliant player in senior football. But this kid, he does look... I mean, who knows how the career?
He's not going to be a striker like Mason. Forward, like he's a forward. Shea Lacey's not a forward, but that's world class potential. And even Garnacho, like I think we've watched enough of him coming through the grades. Looks good, like he stands out. Don't get me wrong, like he absolutely he looks better than his teammates, which suggests there's something about him, but. The thing is, I think he's technically like Rashford's the obvious comparison because they're both wide players on the wing, etc. Rashford has electric speed. So when you've got explosive pace the way Rashford does, you can kind of make up for deficiencies in technicality or when you look at Martial and the way Martial goes past players, it's because he's technically brilliant. Like he's got such good close control, so he doesn't need to be the quickest to do it, though Martial's got decent speed. Garnacho isn't as quick as Rashford. I'd say is technically on par with Rashford. I wouldn't say he's better. And I think because of that, I don't see world-class potential. Like he's not really tall, so I don't see him developing into a Ronaldo-style forward.
I think he'll fill out. He's still quite slight. I still think he's still growing.
But he's not like, he doesn't have that raw speed. I think he's fast, but I don't think he's not going to leave defenders in their wake. I think there are defenders who could probably keep up with him in general. And for that, I think he'll be a good player for United, an important player for United, but I'm not seeing guaranteed starting 11, world-class winger. I don't see it.
Do you think this decision, let's say just Erik ten Hag, let's say Erik ten Hag has control over football and decisions in regards to contracts, he makes the decision to go and sort of play for Argentina, and we sort of lose the FA Cup semi-final because Marcus Rashford gets injured and we don't have that player who can get him behind the left-hand side. That would have made all the difference. And Erik ten Hag says, I had to bring Sancho on. I would have preferred Garnacho. And we don't get that result in the FA Cup final. Do you think Erik ten Hag looks at that decision, whether Erik ten Hag or Manchester United, however you want to look at it, and does that alter any contract discussions with him?
I hope this isn't the case. I'm actually starting to wonder, are they doing this to get him to sign the deal?
Doing what?
Well, they're excusing him to go play for Argentina in order to get him to sign the contract.
Yeah, I'd never thought about it that way. That could be a bit of a tool in regards to luring him into that. And look, maybe that's if we want him and Erik ten Hag sees that future, maybe that is the price it's going to take. Potentially, you do have to manage these players. You look at Sir Alex Ferguson and sort of how he managed players and gave them certain sort of things at certain times of the season to sort of mentally sort of keep them happy, keep them and their families happy. So potentially I haven't given that much thought, but it definitely could be on the money there.
Well, how much does a player like Garnacho go for if he was on the transfer market? 50, 60 million?
Well,
you're paying for potential.
You look financially because he's out of contract and he'd still be on a very sort of youth-based contract. He's probably on absolute pittance. So technically, Manchester United, in terms of a transfer value,
his contract actually expire this summer.
I believe
think he's got a year left. No?
Or a year, the club might have an option, but still, in regards to a wage, in regards to the value on his contract, it would be absolutely nothing. So an actual transfer fee, what Manchester United would accept, just financially, they would accept. Sounds crazy, but they would accept 10 or 15 million, I think. In terms of there will be an absolute no monetary value in regards to what the club do owe him in wages. So
he's out of contract in 2024.
Okay, but if you do tie him down to a contract on senior wages, okay, suddenly yes, you're looking at Garnacho and you're looking at a £50 million player, of course.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I think he'll sign the new deal. I'll be pretty surprised if he doesn't. Like, where does he really go now and guarantee to start?
Yeah.
You know,
Manchester United's the best place for him, of course, and I do hope that is there. I just have and maybe it's bad, maybe I've been burnt too many times before. I just see a bad path in 3 or 4 years' time if one of the Madrid clubs do come calling. But fingers crossed that's not the case, and if they do, hopefully it's off the back of
Real Madrid. You don't leave United for Atletico Madrid. With all due respect, you don't.
It is one of those things. But Larry, before we do
wrap
Spanish
up, anyway, he's Argentinian, so he won't really care about playing for Madrid.
That is one of those things. I remember when he was coming through the youth system at Old Trafford, I always thought he was Spanish. Never realised he was Argentinian. But it is one of those things.
He has dual qualification. Yeah. He chose to play for Argentina. Yeah.
Chose to play for the world champions and Lionel Messi and Lisandro Martinez. Not a bad life for him. But in a few hours, Larry, one, obviously we'll hear from Eric Ten Hag and get probably confirmation around Bruno Fernandes. But in regards to the Premier League, Arsenal and Manchester City kicking off. Now, we've just had a discussion, is this game against Tottenham, if we win it, does it guarantee top 4? A win for either City or a win for Arsenal, does this guarantee the destination of the title?
I think so. This game
both ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even Arsenal need to win this game because Arsenal have a few hairy games still to come. So for Arsenal, they're up against it. If you're a betting man, I mean, City are favourites. They have to be. I mean, just because Arsenal have a lot of difficult games. I'm just going to bring up Arsenal's fixtures here.
Does this not look I agree, but does it not look more so because it's their toughest game? This is probably the one they can afford to draw, and obviously they'd have to hope City drop a game somewhere else.
That's the thing. I think when it's in your hands, you just gotta win. That's the thing. I think City could get a draw in this game, and they're still comfortable. Oh my gosh! Look at this time. They got Chelsea. They got Chelsea next week. Arsenal. This is. Then they got Newcastle. Then they got Brighton. It's 3 tough games.
I think it's away at Newcastle as well.
It's away at Newcastle. They've got Brighton at home, and they're going to the Etihad to face Man City. It's a big ask. If you're a betting man now, I look. London is North Red. Arsenal.
North London is red.
I'm tired.
I know what you mean.
It's 10 o'clock. Forgive me, guys. But I think Arsenal got a big task ahead of them to win the title now, I think. They really butchered it.
2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought they would win this match at the Etihad. I just think they'll get over the line. They're playing good football. Off the back of these 3 draws, I just think, you can't go into this game off the back of 3 draws. If they're in form, I saw them getting a result in this match. As things stand now, I can only see Erling Haaland having a field day.
Yeah. I got a feeling Arsenal. I feel like it'll be a draw. I got a feeling it'll be a draw. I think Arsenal will be up for it, and I think that you've seen the drop off in Arsenal's performance because I think there's been an eye on this game. So, for that reason, I'm gonna say it's got to be a draw. I think.
My last question, it's a word and it's a topic we have stayed clear, crazily enough, throughout this whole podcast, treble talk and trophies talk. just put our hat on in regards to the approach to the FA Cup final. All this doom and gloom. We are in the FA Cup final against Manchester City. Which Manchester City do you think would be the worst to face and the best to face in regards to the situation they will find themselves in? Well, which do you think is the most likely Manchester City team we beat? Is it a team that is going for the treble? Is it a team that has lost the Premier League and they're going for their first trophy in the FA Cup? Is it a team that doesn't have a Champions League final to look forward to? Is it a team with the Champions League final to look forward to in a couple of days? I'm just seeing what scenario are you most confident going into the Manchester City game, and which scenario sort of scares you the most, if that makes sense.
In terms of the treble, the threat.
Just as what gives you the most confidence? Like, do you think if they have a Champions League game a couple of days after, that benefits us? Or do you think if they're going for that treble, that's worse? Like what do you think gets the best out of Manchester City?
I think the Champions League is the one they want. I think treble talk is premature because, this team. They've got a few things going for them. It's their opportunity to do the 3, which no one's talking about because the treble is obviously the bigger one. But they've got an opportunity to do the 3 and match United in doing that. I guess we can say we're the only team to do it twice, so I guess we can keep that for now. Then on top of that, you've got the FA Cup final, I think, will be in benefit because a lot of these players have lost the Champions League before. So I think that there'll be an element of that. But let's give some – I think we need to give Madrid some credit here. And I think people are lazily just assuming this is going to be straightforward. Real Madrid
are way better, though. One of the other ones, you're looking ahead, and rightly so, to the Champions League. But looking back, which Manchester City would you prefer to face in the FA Cup final? One that has won the Premier League the week before, or one that has lost the Premier League the week before?
One that's won it, to be honest. I think that actually benefits United.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's hard. It's a scenario I'm playing up in my mind in terms of trying to find ways.
There's the element of complacency if they win. I think if City don't win the title, they know on their day they're the best team in Europe. So honestly, I think the dream scenario for United is Madrid knock them out of the Champions League, because regardless of, I would rather that they go into the FA Cup with full focus, because at least then it's a 50-50 match. If they've got the Champions League final, then their confidence is sky high, to be honest. I actually think that the only risk to City is being complacent for the Champions League final. Because with all due respect to both Milan teams, whoever wins this game wins the they win the Champions League. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, you'd think. I might not be wrong there. Andy here, good to see you, mate. If City is still going for the treble, City will be dreading facing United. My City fan, mate, back in Manchester, feels the same. Yeah, look, as much as we're dreading the potential final against Manchester City, probably the one fan base who hates this match more would be City fans against Manchester United, especially City fans as favourites. I'm sure they've all seen a situation where Marcus Rashford scores a winner. We're all sort of worried about Haaland and sort of him giving us a nightmare. They're all thinking about Marcus Rashford scoring the winner in the last minute at Wembley. So that is the life of a football fan and a Manchester United fan, which we'll be having plenty of discussions of that in the build-up to the final. So make sure you do stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you do join us whenever we do go live. We'll be back. It's Friday morning game, so we'll be back immediately after full time against Tottenham. It'll be 7 a.m. in Sydney and obviously 10 p.m. in the UK. So feel free to join us post-match to get all your thoughts in. Larry, any other parting thoughts before we do part ways?
No, mate. I'm worried about United. I think we're a leggy team at the moment, and I think we're running uphill to the finish line. I've got to be honest. I'm worried. I'm not seeing...
This is predicted, though. Very predicted in regards to cast back to discussions we'll have in 2-3 months ago. We all saw this coming.
Absolutely. In January, I remember the Nottingham Forest game in the League Cup is the one that pisses me off. Because you and I sat here and we said, Ten Hag, rotate that fucking team in the second leg, and he just didn't do it, did he? Yeah. And look, I love Eric Ten Hag, and whatever happens this season, he's the man to take us forward. Absolutely. Not out of question, but the lack of rotation, and again, I understand his criticisms about the draw. I don't disagree. He has not rotated when he's had opportunity to. And for that, he has to take an element of the blame. Rashford being injured, look, Martial, I could sneeze next to him and he'd do his ACL. So I'm not going to blame Ten Hag for Martial, but he has to take an element of the blame. And the same, unfortunately, I hate to say it, Lissandro Martinez played a lot of football. Similar thing. Unique circumstances as well. We've never had a World Cup in the middle of a football season. Who knows what pressure that's put on the players, but he could have rotated. So, look, I think let's be realistic here. I'm sorry to be negative. When we get to the FA Cup final weekend, Tom, I'll be pumped as you. As we sit here today, I hold zero hope of United winning that football game. In fact, if we lose by less than 2, I'll consider that a moral victory. I think City will wipe the floor with us as we sit here today. Once we get closer,
my confidence levels are about at the same level as you. I am not looking forward to that match I've seen. And look, as I said, Manchester City fans having the same feeling towards us. They're thinking Rashford and Bruno are going to score a hat-trick each. But we're obviously looking at Erling Haaland on that big pitch. And Harry Maguire, I'm filling in for the injured Luke Shaw. So that is a discussion for another day. But we do appreciate everyone joining us. As I said, we'll be live immediately after the Tottenham match. Fingers crossed, talking 3 points, plenty of goals, and securing Champions League football for next season. But until then, hope everyone has a good one, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.